And welcome back, everyone, to the BB Brains. And I am your host, Kyle Dorr. And we're going to be talking about this two-part premiere, I would say, like one and a half at best. Yeah, we got our premiere for Big Brother. We got to see our cast, or at least most of them, on the first day. And then post-mortem toward the next day, I guess, with the newer cast member. But we got our cast, we got our twists. We have an interesting theme to work with for the season, and some very interesting house guests, to say the least. Today is July 11th. I'm recording this late at night because I've been watching the live feeds, and already things are starting to get messy. Already things are starting to get a little crazy. But let's just get into this because we're not going to have much to talk about because unfortunately, it's a premiere. We really just get introduced to the house guests, get to know a little bit what's going on with the twist, and maybe we get left on a cliffhanger, which, from point A to point B was pretty much that. But we at least start off with the right thing that CBS did out the gate was that they started the premiere off with a loving tribute to Mickey, RIP. Love that they did that right out the gate for the show. And, gone too soon. She was only like 35. I'm 32, going on 33 this year. The fact that she was only a few years older than me, it's just too young to go out. But glad they at least, did her some justice with that. But after that, we start the show off with Julie introducing all the women first, which I think is a first. I don't think she really brought in all the women at one time in any season, as far as I'm like remembering. And she did a fun thing where she just psyched them out. It's like it's an all women season, and I'm just like, I mean, it could be an interesting concept. Do like a season of all women for one, and then a season of all men for another. Who knows? Could be interesting. But yeah, we get introduced like in order for the women. Ashley, then Latrice, Lyric, Melody, Haley, Taylor, Mallory, and of all of them, like, we pretty much got what we got from like the introduction packages that we got initially. Um, Not much out of the ordinary for them. And then when it came to the men, we then got introduced to Camu, Drew, Jason, Rome, Barrett, Chuck, and Yash. And again, nothing really stood out for any of these, really. It's just like what we got from the initial fanfare from the introductions to this cast. So nothing too crazy out the gates. I will note, though, you know, when it comes to Big Brother, there are certain curses, and one of the ones was the first in curse. And for those who are not aware, the first in curse is essentially whoever walks into the house first is doomed to never win the game. And I marked the first in for each group. For the first group, it was Jason, and for someone who's a super fan, mm, rough there. But then same can be said for Barrett because he was the second group first person to go in, and then after him was Drew. And all of them say they're super fans, but it's like y'all are really tempting fate being the first ones to go in of your group each. But yeah, so everyone's getting introduced. They're just like going around the house, like reveling in everything that's going on. And Julie just pretty much gathers up everyone and tells them, "Hey, there's 14 of you, and you know what? That's cool, but none of you are going to be the HOH because I knew there's more people coming in." Which Drew noted that there's probably going to be more people coming in, so at least he was aware of that. But with how they introduced it, following after that was um, hit or miss because as a throwback to the previous season where they had the Meow Meow Industries like laser faux pas, they wanted to double down on that. And they got Enzo on the screen to talk to them about the BB time traveling table. And essentially, from Meow Meow Enterprises, they're going to be time traveling throughout the season with that table. And the concept's there. I'll give them the credit for that. It was interesting, and I don't know. It just like I was just glad Enzo's not on the season. I'm not the biggest Enzo fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of him in 12. I was not even a big fan of him in 22, and I sure as hell was not a fan of him when he was on the challenge. So a lot of stuff to unpack there. But either way, he tells everyone they're going to be essentially like going back in time throughout the season or forward in time or whatever they're going to be doing at certain points of every week. And Julie then reveals that they will be having three returnees come this season, and there's going to be groups that are going to be going along to compete for safety as well as give that information to each of those upcoming house guests. So they had to find this BB Tonium, and if you know, I'm such a Big Brother fan. I've been a fan since season 5, and I tell people I watch this show, and I thought, it's moments like this where I realize should I still continue doing that? But it wasn't too bad. I should be more concerned with what happened later in the night, if anything. But with what we got, it was like not the worst thing in the world. But anyway, we start off with them all searching around and everything to find this BB Tonia. And the two that pretty much don't find it are Ashley and Barrett. And what we got from that was like Ashley was just like trying to guess randomly, hopefully getting to the right number amount she would get it, but she didn't. And Barrett, we just didn't hear for anything. So whatever was there with that. But with the first group that we had that was going to be going back in time, they would be going back to July 9th of 1988, where Mallory, Camus, Rome, and Latrice are going to be competing in a stacking competition like they've done in reindeer games and a few other times in like early comps of BB the past few years, where they would just like hate on something and it would just like balance it out and hold it in place for like 10 seconds. And they were like going to give this letter to this like snarky teenage girl who was like running the comp. And basically, it was coming down between Camus and Rome, and essentially, Rome had control and better than Camus did. Won the competition, gave the letter to this girl, and they went on their way. And they were teleported back into the house and then knock on a door, and it enters Angela Murray, which we already knew. Yeah, like basically with the introductions of this cast, with Ty and I went over, essentially we were correct. Like the three people that were in this cast is going to be Angela, Rick Devens, and later, as we found out with tonight's like BB Unlocked D. But we'll get into that when we get to that. Because after Angela enters, the next group goes out to July 7th of 2018, where Drew, Taylor, Chuck, and Haley are competing in Fiji, where they're going to be moving these planks all around to solve this puzzle, to go across, to give this letter to Jeff Probst of all people, which I'm like, okay, you know, Jeff has his like quorums with players going on other shows, but the fact that he's on Big Brother is very interesting. And also, weirdly, we had the trifecta where we had Julie Chen, Jeff Probst, and Phil of TAR all here on Big Brother. So that's the trifecta being pulled off for one of the shows, at least finally. But the fact that Chuck is the one that won it for his safety and gives the letter to Jeff, where he's just like, yes, we're going to put on Rick Devens for this. And it's like, we're so back. We're so back with the campiness as Big Brother. It's dumb. It's fun. But yeah, they get teleported back. Rick Devens enters the house. And again, I think Barrett, of all people, is like having the most like fangasming, where he's just like so happy seeing all these people. And it's just like I would be Barrett in a situation. If I was on this cast, I would have been hyped up to see all these players entering, because even though it is the best idea to take out the veteran players, at least in the early parts of the game, it's best to at least work with them and then later on take them out. But anyways, we get that group entering, and then the final group that is of Yash, Melody, Lyric, and Jason. They go back to June 27th of 2010, where they're going to this club in Vegas where they're trying to make these drink cocktails, and whoever's like the last to get it wrong or last to get it right gets shot with goo because Big Brother's got a big brother. And after all the rounds of getting slimed with Melody, Yash, and Lyric getting slimed in tow, Jason wins. And, well, let me just say, Jason is being messy as hell. Already on the feeds and already in the episode where he's just like talking like, don't trust Rick Devens, don't do this. And he's doing a lot of messy stuff on the feet. So him having safety this week is really doing him good, but I don't think it's going to do him good come next week. But we'll talk about that when we do. Either way, we get all that done. They teleport back and enter the house is not Dee that we all knew was going to be a part of this cast, but Rachel Riley. Rachel, last year, who was taken out by the bad locust twist, and she's back in the game, and it's just like this is a weird setup. This is something's about to happen. Which shocker when everyone teleports back in time to the HOH competition to the dinosaur age, it is essentially what we expected. Rachel being a red herring because in the competition of it being Angela versus Devens versus Rachel, Rachel gets attacked by a velociraptor and is pushed into a volcano where you see her smoldering skeleton corpse at the end of the episode. And essentially, Julie is like, we need to fix this. I need to get a new person. So she goes and back in time to December 20th of 2023, which, for those who are not aware, was the night that D won Survivor 45. And that's where the episode ends. For at least the premiere, or at least part one of the premiere. Because tonight, with BB Unlocked, with what we saw, it was essentially just like the short continuation of that, where essentially we find out Dee was the person that was selected. She is brought back into the game and she is competing with everyone. Now, last year when it came to BB Unlocked, I didn't really care to really talk about it other than maybe like certain scenes and stuff that was shown that made any difference. And with BB Unlocked, at least tonight, it kind of was like a little bit more relevant because we got people being interviewed with the cats, which was very nice. We got to see a little more details of them. Not much to really speak of in terms of strategy, but at least it was like a little more interactive with the cast, what they entail, and what could happen. So I at least appreciate that. And we at least learned that, Derek and Taylor went into the house and went back in time to save Rachel from turning into a skeleton and getting pulled from the game. So they saved her life in the space-time continuum, or some whatever you want to say of that. So Rachel's alive, everyone. So she's willing to fight again another day in Big Brother lore. But I don't know, other stuff that they like shown for the BB Unlocked. It's very clear that we're going to be getting like a twist a week that we as America are going to vote, and it's whoever gets that power. It'll be a one-time power that's going to vary every week, and that person will only get it once, so they can't be voted again and again like Alyssa from Big Brother 15. So at the very least, we got that going. We have that information. Um, in terms of anything else in the episode that was kind of relevant, I mean, we got to see the last 5 minutes of them going into the competition, which was kind of relevant to, not relevant to, it was more privy to the HOH competition that was a Big Brother 23, where all the teams were like trying to hold down the rope for their captain to put the puzzle pieces on. And, again, the fact that it's between Dee, Angela, and Devens, it's like, well, 1 in 3 shot, what's going to happen there? So that's pretty much what we got for BB Unlocked. And it's just like, again, just more conversations with the cast and, more stuff that you want to see for like people that are going into the game and knowing more about them. We got to see more about like Dee, Angela, and Devens of their, entry into the game, which I do like. We got to see a little bit pretty much of their home package like everyone else did. So that's pretty cool. But that's pretty much what we got from BB Unlocked. And so that's our premiere. I'm willing to at least go into a little bit of details of where we're at in the house, just so that people might be interested. If you're not, well, that's pretty much all I got for the bid. It's the premiere. There's not much information we could really work off of other than just like a few hearsay conversations. I mean, you got people like Jason, who is pretty much like putting a target onto the newcomers. And, you know, we also have people like Melody, who is like kind of just like a hater, like really just hating on everyone. Um, but yeah, like it's just like again, you really much love it fanfare. So if that's all you wanted for the episode, unfortunately, that's all I got for this week for you in that regard. And if that's the case, I will see you all next week for the recap of everything that's happened the first week of this game. But those of you who want to stick around and want to have a little bit of information on what's going on in the Big Brother house, I will divulge that. So in terms of the HOH, D is the HOH. She won the competition. She is the HOH. And as noted in the first episode, of people that are safe, Rome, Chuck, and Jason are uneligible to be nominated for eviction. And as of tonight, when the feeds came on, today was nominations day. So we have not done the veto yet. We have not done picks for the veto either. So we don't know anything about that yet. But as far as we're aware, in terms of nominations, it is Mallory, Taylor, and Yash. Those are the three nominees. Now, what does that entail? Why are the reasons for that? From what I gathered so far, it looks like Yash might be working with D, or is like under the impression that he is. He might just be like potentially the pawn or the secondary target, because Taylor, I don't know if people are wanting to target Taylor, but it looks like Mallory is the main target. And it's mainly because people are seeing her like in a, like a pretty much like an alliance with Melody and Lyric. So they look to be like a trio. And some people are like looking at that as like a threat. Some are not so much, but that's where they're kind of at with that. So and Mallory's not taking it well. She's kind of breaking down already. Taylor's also breaking down. Like these people are already becoming a hot mess out the gate. So there's that's happening. So it looks like Mallory's the main target. We'll see how that's going to go throughout the week. In terms of other parts of the structure, it looks like Barrett is working with Angela, Dee, and Devins. He looks like he's working with the reality people, which makes sense. I think Barrett was definitely going to go that route. Not too familiar with what Brittany's doing. Not too familiar with what Chuck's doing. It does look like Rome and Kamu are kind of butting heads. So I guess there's not going to be a guys' alliance. So I'm okay with that. And it looks like if that is the case, Rome, I'll be your beta submissive to root for you if that is the case, because I do not want Kamu to go far in this game. And if you're going to go against Kamu, by all means, I'll be your fan. If you truly are that big of a Pokemon card collector fan, I'll root for you. What can I say? Bad first impression. What can I say on there? In terms of other stuff, especially with Kamu, it looks like Kamu, Mallory, and D are in alliance of sorts. And with Mallory, there's some weird stuff going on. Mallory apparently is like tried to hit on Rome. He rejected her because he's more into lyric, and there is something going on between those two that might build up over the course of time. I did see the kiss on the cheek tonight, so something's probably building there. Um, but with that information at hand, I don't know. Like Mallory and Kamu have some similar ideals that are unique, to say the least. And with the uniqueness, I don't know if it's going to vibe well with certain people in the house. But that's neither here nor there so far on that. What I do know is that Jason is also still trying to push for the Devons to be booted out narrative at some point. And again, it's giving Jose from Big Brother 18, where Jose thought he was like the Big Brother Messiah. He's going to take out all the veterans and was voted out week one. And if Jason continues with this, I wouldn't be shocked if he was like the week two boot. So that's what we got there with him. In terms of everyone else, like Barrett and Angela seem very close, which is pretty cool. Drew, I'm not getting much of. Like again, it's like the first few hours of the feeds, you're only getting so much of what you can get. Like I said, the most focus so far was just like Mallory having a meltdown because of the nominations, Taylor having a little bit of a meltdown because of the nominations, Yash thinking like he's totally in the cool with everything, despite being nominated, and it looks like he was going to choose Rome, though Rome said he was going to throw the veto. It's looking like a messy cast, which I kind of predicted it was going to be, which I'm enjoying so far. And I don't know, the season's looking to be very fun. I do enjoy what we got so far. This cast is very entertaining. I'm really wondering what we're going to see throughout this week, especially when it comes to the veto nominations as well as final nominations, and then on top of that, the BB blockbuster. Because if Mallory pulls like a Kelly week one, and if it's like Taylor versus Yash, or from what I gathered from D, it looks like Melody might be the replacement nom. So if it's Melody versus Taylor or Melody versus Yash, I don't know. There would be some scenarios where I could see people looking at Yash to be the target, and instead because of what's going on with how people are viewing D and Kamu at the moment. Who knows? But I don't know. That's what I got right now for live feeds. Again, we got plenty of time left. I got like I'm watching the feeds right now as I'm recording this episode. So that's all we got there. Again, it's a premiere episode. We don't got much to work with, but at the very least, Big Brother is finally here. The season's finally started. If you want to watch the live feeds, you can watch them on YouTube actually at this point. Or if you have Pluto, watch it on Pluto. Or if you got Paramount Plus, watch it on Paramount Plus. You have so many reasons to watch this show with live feeds without having to pay for it at this point. So if you want to watch the live feeds, I would say definitely do it at this point because you have the opportunity to. If not, I will at least give you as much of the recap that I can from over the course of the week, and we can go over that together. So, my name is Kyle Dorr. I'm the BB Brains, and I hope you like the episode because I'll see y'all next week for the next one. So, have a good night, everyone.